Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Erin, and for today's video we're gonna do a video that scares me. So you can tell by the title that this is going to be an update on my mental health, and I'm going to try my best not to cry in this video, but if it happens, it happens. It is currently January 31st. And I wanted to film this video last summer when I was doing really well, and it was going to be a video on, how to get better and coping mechanisms, and, I was like fine with telling everyone kind of like my story, I guess, on like everything that happened the year prior. But I guess I'm kind of glad that I'm not filming it then, obviously, because it didn't happen, and I'm filming it now instead because I feel like I have more to talk about. Obviously, as life goes on, you learn a little bit more, and so I know more now than I did then. And I hope that this video can be helpful in some regard, even if it's just to make someone feel a little bit less lonely in what they're feeling. I do think that is helpful, so it may not be an inspiring story on how to get better, filled with coping mechanisms, and, you'll feel better overnight. That's just not how mental health works. So, content warning for depression, anxiety, suicide ideation. I don't know if it's technically an eating disorder. I haven't been diagnosed with that, but body dysmorphia, I think, is what it's called. I might be getting all of these things wrong, and if that's the case, I'm sorry, and please correct me so that I can, learn and not perpetuate things that are harmful. Also, my voice is a little bit quiet because I'm nervous, so I'm sorry if you have to turn up your volume a little bit more on this video than you normally would. I'm doing my best. So, for a long time, I have always been really open about my mental health, and that's something that I've been very proud of and kind of pride myself on. Because I always told myself that I was comfortable telling anybody that, and that I'm an oversharer, and I'll tell anybody who will listen, even though I don't talk much. If people ask certain questions, I'll be honest with them, even if the answers aren't happy, and I'll tell them the full story if they will sit and listen, and that's not always the best thing. And somehow it can be really isolating, which isn't fun, obviously, but I've dealt with depression since I was 10, maybe even before that, honestly. I definitely think it was before that, and I've gone through bouts of it throughout my entire life, and I didn't really know, what depression was. I didn't have a name for it. I wasn't diagnosed with it until sometime in high school or maybe early college. I'm in my third year of college. So it's more recent, the diagnosis. So I have depression and anxiety. My depression tends to get worse in the winter, so I have seasonal affective disorder, which makes sense because a lot of people in my area have seasonal affective disorder. We live in an area that doesn't get tons of sun in the winter, and so I'm probably also vitamin D deficient. I'm getting my levels tested soon. But yeah, I have been in and out of therapy since my sophomore year of high school. I've been having panic attacks for as long as I can remember. I just didn't have a name for them, but I progressively had more throughout high school. I didn't know what they were called then, but I've had a lot of them. The end of 2018, my depression got really, really bad. So bad that I got physically sick from it, which has happened a couple of times. It's not pleasant, but it does happen. And the beginning of 2019, it only got worse. But I think something that really triggered it was, there were a few things, but one of the main ones that I remember being really significant was my childhood dog dying, and that might sound like so ridiculous to some people because everyone dies at some point, and I knew he was getting old, but like I still wasn't ready, and I wasn't doing very well. And April 1st we had to put him down because he like wasn't himself. He was in a lot of pain, and he was like lashing out at us, and there wasn't like any reason for it. He had never done that before. So anyway, we ended up he died on April 1st, and I never got over it. I never processed it, and so it just kind of like ate away at me. And I distinctly remember on June 1st, because I got home from a trip pre-COVID. It sounds so weird. I went on a trip. Doesn't sound right. June 1st was the first time that I like considered self-harm, but it went so far as like idealizing suicide to an extent that I hadn't ever really before, and I like genuinely considered it, and it really scared me. And I remember because I walked into my two best friends, and they were laughing and having a good time, and I had pulled up in my car and I was crying, wiped my tears, went inside, expected them to know that something was wrong with me, and that's not a fair expectation to have, but I understand like why I had it. These were the people that I was closest to at the time, and you could see my face was red. Again, still not a fair expectation. You have to talk in order for people to understand what's going on, and some people still won't, and that's not your fault, nor is it their fault. But I walked in, they asked me what was wrong, I said nothing, and they believed me. And I think that was like the scariest part for me, was that I don't know, it seemed like I had gotten so good at pretending that everybody just took it as face value, at face value. And I wanted people to continue to ask if I was okay, but I kept telling them that I was, and so they, that summer it only got worse. And typically summer is the time where I am happiest because the sun is out. I'm typically outside more, my friends are home, I get to see them, I just feel better. School is out, and so I don't have to stress about that. I just feel 100% better. Went on another trip in August, late August. I came back, and when I got back from that trip, I admitted myself to the hospital to be put on suicide prevention watch because I didn't trust myself to be home alone. It was really scary. Being there is not fun. It feels like you're being punished, and I don't want to discourage anyone from going at all. If you need to go, you need to go, but I also don't want people to have the wrong expectation. You have someone watching you at all times, which is a comfort in some regard, but also just kind of feels horrible because I don't know, it's like a lose-lose situation. I feel like for anyone who's depressed, they'll understand that, or has experienced depression, they would understand that like you want to get better and you want that help and you want someone to stay with you and be able to talk to you and whatever, but you also want to be able to fix it all on your own. And having someone sit there with you and remind you that you can't, it just sucks. So I started a new therapy in September, and that therapy was so much better, and that therapist I still work with. My relationship with my therapist is just so much better than it had been with the previous one. I feel like I get something from it, and I don't feel worse when I leave therapy, which was how I was feeling with my previous therapist. So I was prescribed medication for OCD tendencies. I was only on 2 medications, so one of them kind of boosted my energy a little bit, helped me focus, but also helped me like kind of cope with OCD tendencies, which I've experienced a lot. but I don't have like full-blown OCD. And then the other one was to help me sleep at night, and I don't remember if there was anything else that it did. I'm sure there was, but I was having trouble sleeping at night, and so that helped with that. So I took one in the morning, one at night. I wasn't prescribed the second one until November, when I went into the hospital again, admitted myself for the same reason. And that was interesting because when I told my family that I needed to go back, they supported me in that, but they were really surprised because, again, I was just really good at pretending everything was fine. And I think the hardest part of like my mental health journey has been seeing the worry that I cause other people to feel. That doesn't feel good. I don't want the attention, like, to begin with. I don't want people to pay attention to the fact that I'm sad or whatever, and even though I know it's just them caring and they're allowed to do that, but I feel so guilty when, like, they're hurting because they see me hurting, because I know I caused it, and there's nothing that I can do, but I'm trying and it's still not working, and there's nothing that they can do, and I don't know, I just feel like a lot of guilt and self-hate, and I don't know. Anyway, I was there for 3 days, I think, in November. I got out, I was put on another medication, and that helped. I slowly got better, and the winter wasn't so hard for me when it started in 2020. It wasn't as hard to deal with, and I was feeling better. I was feeling more confident, and that kind of like took me by surprise because I had never felt that way through a winter season. And I was like feeling so good. I had no thoughts of anything really. I would get a little bit sad when I would PMS, but that was it. And obviously I would get sad when sad things happened, but I wasn't depressed. And when I would get sad, it wouldn't last very long and I could cope with it, and I was really good at identifying my emotions. And then summer came and I had a wonderful summer. I'm not even gonna lie to you. Even throughout lockdown, like, I was pretty okay mentally. And then when summer came, I had a wonderful summer. I didn't see very many people because of the pandemic, obviously, but the people that I did see, and I, kept it pretty small, I spent a ton of time with, and I just felt really good about myself. And then school started in September, and I put a lot of pressure on myself to get great grades, and I did it, but I didn't feel anything from it, and I started to have, thoughts that were really scary. And that's not me like trying to be condescending or like allude to something without being honest with you. That's just the way that I can put it, where it doesn't, like, it's not hard for me, I guess. And as school continued through October and November, I just progressively got more sad. And I didn't want to admit it to anyone, including my therapist, because that would mean that it was real and I was actually struggling with it. And what was really hard for me to admit was that I was in pain, because when I was feeling really good over the summer and, throughout spring and everything, I kept telling myself that I'll never feel like that again. And so when I started feeling that way again, I was just so disappointed, because I felt like I should be doing better. And I know that people regress and, fall back into sad things, or like feeling sad, or whatever you're dealing with. People relapse all the time, but I told myself that I wouldn't. And so when it happened, I hated myself. I would get upset and try to do the things that helped me cope with it in the past, but they weren't working. I just felt stuck because I didn't know what else to do, and I still kind of feel stuck. I still don't know what to do. I don't know what the answer is. Over the summer, I was really proud of myself because my therapy moved from once a week to once a month. That's how the program works after a year. And so I was proud of myself for that. But, and I think in November, I had to start up weekly again. And that was really hard. Not because I don't like my therapist or anything, but I was embarrassed to tell people that after how well I had been doing, I wasn't doing that well anymore. I also stopped eating because it was getting colder outside and I wasn't able to exercise as much as I had been. And so I felt like I shouldn't eat as a balance because I didn't want to be unhealthy. And I also limited what I was eating because I wanted to eat healthy food, but we didn't always have it, or I didn't always want it. So instead I would eat nothing because I thought that was a healthier alternative. And I didn't realize how bad it had gotten until the middle of November when I weighed myself. I used to weigh 114 pounds. And that's how much I weighed in November. And then I weighed myself in December. And I only weighed 104. I am a skinny person. I always have been. And I think I'm technically still in the healthy range, but I don't look healthy. I look even smaller than I used to, and that doesn't make me feel good. So looking in the mirror doesn't feel good. Editing videos doesn't make me feel good. I lost a lot of motivation and want to do the things that I typically enjoy, and now I'm on medication again. And what's really scary is nobody thinks that anything is wrong with me. I had a conversation with my mom the other day and she said, "Is everything okay? You seem happy." And I'm not. I'm on medication again. I'm still going to therapy every single week. I'm trying to do the things that I did this summer in hopes that maybe something will help. I'm trying to take more time for me and do the things that I enjoy and prioritize myself, because that's not something that I've ever been good at, but it's hard to want to do those things. I'm sleeping a lot, which is like the biggest indicator for how well I'm feeling. That's not to say that if I'm only getting 2 hours of sleep, I'm thriving, because you need more sleep than that. But if I'm sleeping 10 to 12 hours, I generally don't feel good. If I'm sleeping 10 to 12 hours and taking naps throughout the day, I really don't feel good. And that's what I've been doing. I'm not mentally prepared for school, and that's terrifying because I want to get good grades again, but I don't actually want to. I don't know how that makes any sense. I don't often want to read anything. It's just too much work. My room's a mess, and I'm a really clean person. Sometimes I go 2 to 3 days without showering, and that makes me feel gross. That's not to say if you don't shower every day, you're gross, but it's just how it makes me feel about myself. I'm really irritable all the time. I've stopped talking to a lot of people. I can't stop crying, obviously. I don't know if I'm going to post this or not. I don't want anyone to feel bad for me, but I just kind of wanted to tell you like what my experiences were, how they made me feel, and that even though I was feeling really good for a really long time, not even a really long time, it just felt like a really long time because I've been depressed for so long, even though I was doing well for an extended period of time, I'm not doing well again, and it's normal. It sucks, but it's normal. I am happy to report that I'm trying to eat more. It sucks that it's a conscious, like a thing that I have to be conscious of and remind myself of, because that's not something that I ever assumed I would experience. This isn't to create concern. It's just to make people aware of a few things. Number one, you can be doing the best you've ever done and the next day be feeling the worst you've ever felt. And it's not normal to go back and forth. You want your mood to stabilize, but it does happen. It doesn't mean that everything is impossible, which is a reminder that I need often. If I don't read as much this year, that's why. Or at least for these few months, that's why. I'm trying my best. If I don't post as much, this is why. There are some times where like filming makes me feel great. It helps a lot. And I love editing. But there are other times where it takes everything in me to even open my eyes in the morning. I know a lot of people wanted to know how I was doing and what my mental health journey has looked like, and this is what it looks like right now. It's not sunshine and rainbows like I wanted to tell you it would be when I planned on making this video so long ago, but I'm hopeful and optimistic, but not entirely confident, just because I'm not entirely confident about anything, that I will get better. I'm working really hard too, but it's a lot of work, and sometimes it's a lot of work to even want to do it, but yeah, I don't know. I hope that you're all doing well, reading, mentally, and otherwise. I know this wasn't a happy video. I don't even know if I'm gonna post this. If you're watching it, I obviously did, but just know that it was really scary for me to post. I've deleted it many times. But hopefully this helps someone and you don't take it as me seeking attention, because that's not what anyone asking for help when they're not doing well is. They're looking for support. Very few people want attention when they're not doing well. It takes a lot for them to ask for it. So if you have asked for it, I'm very proud of you. I know that it takes a lot. I know that it's not easy. And if any of you ever want to talk, I would be happy to. I'm not a therapist, but if you just need someone to listen, I would love to do that for you. I love you all so much. I don't know if I want you to have enjoyed this video, but I hope it helped. And I'll see you all in my next video. Bye guys.